We're at a sold-out swamp for Florida State and Florida. Good evening from balmy Gainesville, where we have the 60th renewal of FSU and the Gators. For more on the Seminoles, Dr. Jerry Punch and Jimbo Fisher.
Thanks, Mike. Coach, several of your key players are true freshmen or redshirt freshmen and have never played a game in the swamp. What have you told them about what they can anticipate tonight?
Well, enjoy the moment. You know, this is why you come to Florida State to play in these games. It's something to mean, big games that mean something. Trust your coaching, trust your preparation, and more importantly, trust yourself and enjoy the moment and play your tails off.
Your quarterback, Sean McGuire, making this his second start on the road. The other one came in a hostile environment at Clemson. Tough place to play. What are your expectations?
I expected a lot. The game never overwhelmed him at Clemson. It was a very good game. I expect the same thing tonight. He had great preparation. He's grown a lot. I expect his leadership to take us to victory.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Jerry, thanks very much. When we come back, the kickoff from the swamp. Florida State won the toss, deferred to the second half. Roberto Aguayo to kick it away. Brandon Powell is deep for the Gators. Aguayo, one of the most talented kickers ever. Four yards deep. Powell will bring it out. And almost broke it. Stumbles across the 20. Treon Harris comes out, originally committed to Florida State, changed his mind. Now he's the Gators' starting quarterback with Will Greer's suspension. He is 5-1 as the Gators starter. He has a problem with accuracy, though. He has completed just 54.7% of his passes this year.
And for Florida and new offensive coordinator Doug Nussmeier, they don't want to be a quarterback running team, meaning they'd like the run game to go more through, of course, Kelvin Taylor, their tailback. However, Treon Harris, his game is based on movement, and I get a feeling in games like this and the next week in the SEC championship game, we may start to see a little more quarterback run game for number 3.
Taylor, number 21, is the tailback. He goes in motion. Now sets up as a flanker, empty backfield. Harris comes out to throw on first down, throws behind his tight end DeAndre Goolsby. The momentum of spinning took him out of bounds.
And one note to pass along, DeMarcus Robinson, one of the most explosive receivers for the Gators, was suspended for what Jim McElwain said was a bad choice. So we'll call that breaking team rules. So if things weren't tough enough for Florida on offense, DeMarcus Robinson, one of their best players, out. So Antonio Callaway and Brandon Powell will have to step up, and also Chris Thompson may get more of a role.
2nd and 9 after the short gain on first. Powell into the backfield. He'll only get a couple. Niall Lawrence Stample, the big left tackle, made the stop. Florida State very strong up the middle with those two big guys.
Yeah, with Derek Noddy and Niall Lawrence Stample, Florida State's been able to play as many as 7 defensive backs in a game. And there's Charles Kelly, the former defensive back at Auburn, second year taking over the defensive coordinator and doing just a fantastic job.
Chris Thompson, number 85 in the ballgame as a receiver, has blinding speed with only 5 catches in his career, 1 this year. Seminoles bring 4 on delayed rush. And he just throws it away.
Well, Florida may have one of the best secondaries in the country. I'm not sure Florida State's not nipping at their heels. This guy knows how to coach secondaries, and he's got some good ones. That's Derwin James, who has burst on the scene as a true freshman. Jalen Ramsey had one-on-one coverage. Up at the top was one-on-one as well, and nobody was there. And just 3-man rush, and because of the coverage, Treon Harris has nowhere to go.
Bobo Wilson is deep, waits back at his 35. A booming line drive. Drives him all the way back to the 21-yard line. Flag is down. Another flag is down, and so is Wilson. Slammed down at the sideline. A 10-yard return after a 53-yard kick. There may be 3 flags down on this play.
Yeah, that was clearly a hit out of bounds on Florida. So much energy in this building. It is hard to describe what it's like on the floor of this field when it's this juiced up, but a Florida player over on the sideline clearly a bit out of his mind because this place is just amped up, but he hit the guy. He hit him late for sure out of bounds.
So it looks like we had 2 blocks in the backs or holds on the punt return, and then a personal foul of the tackle. This may take a few seconds to sort out.
You know, you think about the officials in a game like this. You have to keep your cool. There's this much energy for these guys.
There were 2
keep a
fouls
clear
on
mind.
The play. During the return, holding on the receiving team. During the kick, at penalty, it's 10 yards from the end of the kick. After the play was over, personal foul, unnecessary roughness. Number 42 of the kicking team. That penalty is 15 yards from the succeeding spot. First down, Florida State.
Keanu Neal will be called for the penalty. So if my math is right, that ends up being 5 yards.
Yeah. And Neal, who's been battling with a foot injury, he was trying to pull up. He knew he was close, but there is just so much energy and adrenaline in this building.
Sean McGuire starting his 2nd road game of the season. His other start was a loss at number 1 Clemson. The redshirt junior has a 4-1 record at Florida State this season. 8 touchdown passes, 2 picks. He is terrific at the deep ball. Dalvin Cook, his tailback in the eye. And this is a brilliant, absolutely brilliant Florida defense. They have kept the Gators in games all year long.
And good news that John Bullard, who hurt his knee last week and a shoulder 2 weeks ago, is in and playing one of the best run stoppers in all of college football. Has had a monster year. Taven Bryan, another defensive tackle, is questionable with an ankle. Joey Ivey, another defensive tackle, is out with a leg injury. Alex McAllister, defensive end, is out. And defensive end Jordan Sherritt out. The depth has taken a hit at Florida on the defensive line.
Ball's loose. It looked like Cook was able to cover it.
Never got it. Yeah, he clamped down on it early.
Closed his hands.
Yeah, for Dalvin Cook, ball security has been an issue. Remember, Cook, a guy who fumbled twice in the 3rd quarter in the semis last year against Oregon, a game that Florida State started having some momentum. We talked to him about ball security. He said being more comfortable has helped me. That didn't look like he was comfortable. Looked like there was a lot of adrenaline closing those hands on that ball.
McGuire goes to the shotgun. Wilson in motion. Pressure on McGuire, throws incomplete. So both teams go 3 and out.
Roderick Johnson, the only guy who has started every game there at left tackle, just got beat a little bit. An excellent move that time by Brian Cox Jr. There was even a back going to that side, but Cox Jr., whose dad, of course, a great NFL lineman and now a defensive line coach for the Falcons, but Cox Jr. caused the bad throw by McGuire.
Kason Beatty has had a terrific year as the Seminoles punter, 44 yards a kick. Callaway, very dangerous return man, is deep. Backpedals to the 20. And stops shy of the 25, a 4-yard return after a 55-yard beauty.
Charles Kelly, the defensive coordinator, be very multiple.
Taylor has been the bell cow on the ground, but he's only averaging 3.9 yards a carry. He'll get much more than that on this one. Ramsey takes him down at the 43. Gain of 20 for Kelvin Taylor.
With an offensive line that has had its struggles this year, they've had moments where they played well. This is a big deal for this Florida front. To be able to get a nice cutback, terrific hole, and overrun by the linebacker Terrence Smith allows Kelvin Taylor, who, yes, his father is Fred Taylor, the former Florida Gator who helped beat Florida State, the #1 Florida State team in '97. There's Fred Taylor, who's just honored on the field. Nice cut by his son. Hey, let the guy watch the game. His son is in.
Such a great college and pro player. Started with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Little swing to the outside. Powell will get maybe 2 up to the Gator 45-yard line.
And there it goes. Ramsey and Powell. A lot of these guys. Yeah. Well, I mean, the rosters are all full of Florida young men. So they have all played each other great story with Treon Harris, the quarterback. He played Dalvin Cook, the running back from Florida State, 3 times between Booker T. Washington High School and Miami Central High School. So these guys know each other. There will be some conversation.
Callaway resets to the left side. Four-man rush. Harris having a tough time finding somebody and throws incomplete. Had a man wide open at the sideline. It was Callaway, and he lost his footing and went down.
Yeah, Callaway was wide open running by Ramsey. You could see Callaway get a little word into Ramsey. And Treon Harris had forever to throw this and short-armed it a little bit. Harris had a pocket, and I'm not so sure that Harris didn't slip when he was stepping into that throw. But that ball, they had a touchdown there, and it looked like Harris missed it. And you could see he's still mad at himself. You saw him bark at himself there. But his old high school teammate, Callaway, had snuck by Ramsey, and that would have been an easy one had Harris delivered it.
Guys have teammates from 12 different Florida high schools separated on these rosters. Blitz coming, and Harris is buried by Terrence Smith, the linebacker blitzing from the right side.
Terrence Smith, the guy who's been battling an ankle injury. He had a huge play in this game last year with a 94-yard interception return for a touchdown when the Seminoles were surprisingly down in that game. But he has a terrific move. You starting to get that speed back. He had a bum knee all last year, has been battling an ankle. That was a great swim move, the arm over.
Wilson is deep, another beautiful high kick. Fair catch made inside the 15-yard line. A 47-yard kick. And more pushing and shoving after the play. The first sack of the ball game. It won't be the last.
Punch was asking about these young players for Jimbo Fisher. A lot of noise at this end of the field. And they had some struggles early with communication with this offensive line.
Two-back set. Jaquez Patrick, number 9, is in. They fake it to him. Want to set up a screen. Dalvin Cook bobbled it but caught it. And then taken down by 3 blue shirts near the 10-yard line.
For this offensive line for Florida State, they were in and out. They had 9 different starters kind of rolling through with some injuries, but they finally found a group of 5. Eberle at center, a guy that redshirted last year. They expected him to take over at center. He was banged up in camp, has finally taken over, and a group that struggled against Boston College and struggled against Clemson has settled in nicely, and they need it now in this type of ball game in this environment.
McGuire double clutches and throws incomplete. Hit his tight end Ryan Izzo in the chest, and he dropped the ball.
We've been mentioning injuries all night. Maven Saunders, a redshirt freshman who was playing really well at tight end, is out with a back. And, of course, this is a team that lost the Mackey Award winner in Nick O'Leary last year. So we mentioned at the open the job that Jimbo Fisher, who calls his own plays, and his whole entire offensive staff has done. Been really impressive with all the guys they lost off of last year's squad.
And you're right to mention the offensive line. That's where it starts. 4 out of the 5 are new. Blitz coming. McGuire hangs in the pocket and throws incomplete, intended for Travis Rudolph. Had a step at the ball thrown over the wrong shoulder, and another 3 and out. This game being played, as you might expect with those great defenses, a battle of field position.
Yeah, and with McGuire, what you have, remember Everett Golson, the Notre Dame transfer, was the quarterback at the start of the season. Good late blitz there, getting there by Jared Davis, but more vertical throws with Sean McGuire in now than you had with Everett Golson. Good protection. You got to be careful, though, that far down there, holding the ball that long against this defense.
Beatty, low spiral that takes a good FSU bounce and will go down to the 46-yard line. 45-yard kick with the roll. Wasn't pretty, but it was effective. Harris and company will start from there when we come back. At their own 46, neither team able to move the ball. Jordan Scarlett, number 25 on this series, will start at tailback. Play fake to him. Harris throws to Scarlett, and he's out of bounds.
For Treon Harris, good, for Doug Nussmeier, the first-year offensive coordinator, came down from Michigan. Spent time, Nussmeier, at Alabama under Nick Saban, as had his boss, Jim McElwain. But there's Nussmeier there, former Idaho quarterback. Their big rivalry was Boise State. Talked about that the other day. But it's going to move the pocket, and he talked about how Treon Harris, part of his game is movement. So trying to get more in. With Will Greer, before he was suspended, it was about more pocket passing.
Taylor is back in and smacked Reggie Northrup, the middle linebacker. Caught him up under the chin. We'll check him with Doc Punch.
Hey, guys, for the Gators of Florida, the dead fish are alive. Last week, after Jim McElwain said the body language reminded him of a bunch of dead fish on ice, he challenged the players this week to show me you want to be here. Show me you want to be a Florida Gator. And thus far, lots of emotion up front for that offensive guy.
Has a way with words, doesn't he, Jerry?
Yeah, and his offensive line struggled. They've been up and down the last part of the season. Some of the bodies starting to tear down a little bit. Trip Thurman.
Tough to get well against this front.
Yeah, Thurman in there at center because of some injuries.
Blitz coming late, and they go to the tight end, Jake McGee, the transfer from Virginia. Gets the first down of the ball game, and the first time either team has crossed the 50. As we check in with Adnan Burt. Boy, I bet they'll need at least that tonight, won't they? Harris, short set to Callaway. Nice move to get free and then plastered. Boy, DeMarcus Brutus just unloaded.
Yeah, Brutus, the senior, who is clearly the leader in the secondary, just wasn't having any of that from the true freshman. Callaway, though, made a terrific move to bounce to the outside, but DeMarcus Brutus, a senior who Charles Kelly relies on heavily. Doesn't want to lose this guy. He knows the entire set.
2nd and 5. Taylor, nice hesitation. Taylor fighting for yards down to the 28-yard line.
Trip Thurman, the senior, usually right guard, has gone into center because Cam Dillard is out with a leg injury. And Tyler Jordan, a true freshman who they like and think will be very good, now playing right guard. And now a crazy formation with 2 offensive tackles lined up on the line of scrimmage to the top.
And if Florida State doesn't cover it, they'll run the play that way. They think they have a numbers advantage there. Harris throws back the other way to Taylor and covered very well. Ramsey is right there to make the tackle.
There is chatter after every single play. This is a football-rich state. A lot of people say there are 2 sports in high school football in Florida: football and spring football. And this, a lot of these guys out of the Miami area, and of course, this is a guy who has what they've built at Florida State on the defensive side of the ball, from Jeremy
Illegal
Pruitt.
Formation on the offense. Number 78 lined up in the backfield. 5-yard penalty. Replay first down.
Yeah, so
if you're going to run trick formations like that, you better make sure you can execute them.
Yeah, Sharp did not line up on the line of scrimmage. It did look a little funky when he was over there that he was off the ball. So a bad formation there.
That'll make it 1st and 15. Taylor. Tripped up by Lawrence Stample. Found him around the ankle and tripped him as he fell forward for about 3.
And the hard part for Jim McElwain is one of the struggles this year have been in the kicking game. They have not been reliable in field goal kicking at all. Austin Harden Had a great game last year against Florida State. Was 4 for 4 with a 52-yarder. They went out and found Neil McGinnis, this young man who was a pre-dental student, so he's the backup now. After an injury to the starter, Jorge Powell knocked him out. So they're in a territory where field goals don't mean much for Florida. They've been under 50% this year.
Treon Harris having trouble getting the right play. Has to burn the timeout with 4:43 to go first quarter.
There's either been good coverage or the pocket collapsing.
Harris has completed 5 out of 17, but only for 17, or 5 out of 7, but only for 17 yards. It's a quarterback draw, and he's swallowed up by Josh Sweat, number 9, a true freshman who they just think the world of.
Defensive line stunt on that side. The tackle goes outside. Sweat, true freshman from Virginia, comes up. Very explosive guy, unblocked. And these two quarterbacks are wondering, all right, when is the sting? You know, the defense usually starts with a little more sting. They get a little more pop to them, especially in this environment. So that'll settle down a bit, but these two guys are kind of waiting for that.
3rd and 12. From here, by the way, it would be about a 48-yard field goal try. I'm not sure that Jim McElwain would make that choice.
I agree. So, you know, you could get a quarterback run here, some type of screen. You don't have to think all of it.
Seminoles show blitz, and they come with it. Unloads quickly, and incomplete might be a penalty against Florida.
Second charge, timeout, Florida.
They got a timeout from the bench. So the Gators will face a big play coming when we return to Florida Field.
Remember last year where Ohio State was at about this time in the week before?
They were out of it.
Yeah, so Florida sitting at number 12 obviously has a lot to do between now and then, but if they can win out, it's going to be hard-pressed for them not to get in as a one-loss SEC champion.
Nobody in the three-point stance along that forward wall for the Seminoles. Trying to mess up the blocking assignments.
Great call because of the timeout.
Pressure coming. They got a screen to Taylor. Taylor's going to be a couple of yards shy.
If I were Florida, I'd try to go fast here. Florida State may be thinking they've got to stop, but this is a place where you're not comfortable kicking it. I don't think you want 3 here no matter what. This is a place where Jim McElwain has gone for it most of the season, so as suspected. And they run on DeAndre Goolsby and also Deontay Lewis. Watch for tight ends here, 30 and 80. If they go to throw it, this is a very good defensive front for Florida State. I'm not sure a run here is the call.
13 for 20 on the season, 4th down conversions. And Florida State didn't like what they were seeing, didn't like the defense they had out there. They've called time.
Florida State.
This will give us a chance to go to the studio and Adnan Virk. Boy, there's a stunner.
Didn't anybody tell Ole Miss that Alabama had already wrapped up the West and they've got nothing to play for? Yeah. Well, Mississippi, Mississippi State, Florida, Florida State. In for the Gators. Look for maybe a short throw.
Even something innocuous as a hard count might get you a flag and enough yards. Bad snap. Harris down. Oh, that just blew up in their face.
Well, we mentioned Cam Dillard. The normal center is out. Trip Thurman, a senior who's done everything he can. The guy's battled through shoulder injuries to come back and play his senior year. And they were going to move the pocket, and the snap is low and left, and they had it open. They had the out cut to the left. They had all the big bodies over to the right, and that looked wide open if Harris could have gotten a clean snap. But just a bummer for Florida. One of their weaknesses rears its ugly head.
Low and away is a good location on an 0-2 pitch, but not on a direct snap to the quarterback.
Not on 4th and 2. Yeah.
So big break for the Seminoles. And McGuire goes right to work. Cook, nothing. Nice defense by the safety, Keanu Neal.
And now you know why Florida's won so many games.
Yes.
Their offense may be occasionally inept. There is nothing inept about the defense left behind by Will Muschamp.
No, they're terrific.
Well coached, and I give Jeff Collins, the defensive coordinator who came over from Arkansas, a ton of credit. He learned the language of the Florida defense. Most coordinators come in and will reteach the entire system. Instead, Collins adopted what Will Muschamp and his staff had worked so hard to build, and boy, has it paid off.
Saved him a year so the players didn't have to relearn everything. Throw back against the grain to Ryan Izzo, the tight end. What a beautifully designed play that was. A delay to your tight end.
And Dalvin Cook, who was in the flow of the play and then ran out there, didn't realize that Izzo was actually the guy that McGuire was going to look for coming back that way. Cook was running a swing and nearly went to catch that ball and instead became a blocker. Good job. Misdirection against the speed of Florida pays off for Florida State.
That gets the Seminoles to the Gators' 45-yard line. Florida had been winning the battle of field position. End around to Wilson. Bobo Wilson will pick up about 3. Jimbo Fisher always has a bag of tricks to go to.
This one went a little too deep, though. I think they would want this to develop a little more quickly. Look how deep Bobo Wilson runs, about 8 steps, almost backwards. You can't do that against these guys in blue jerseys. Their secondary's too fast. Jimbo Fisher, when asked this week about the secondary of Florida, he goes, yeah, I know how good they are. We recruited all of them.
McGuire appears to be changing the play. Cook, nowhere to go. Flying up came Jared Davis. Jared Davis with the big tackle, along with Brian Poole.
Jared Davis, one of the 2 linebackers, including Antonio Morrison, who had to rehab after a knee injury last year. Davis has stepped up with Alex Anzalone out with a shoulder injury and is just having a terrific junior campaign.
They are doing this against Florida State with a crippled defensive front. They listed about 15 guys who might play tonight. McGuire, incomplete, off the hands of Erman Lane. Would have been a tough catch.
Yeah, Lane has had some troubles with drops this year, getting more in the rotation a bit. But McGuire a little low and a little hot on that throw. If he brings it up, and Jimbo mad that maybe missing someone down the field. I'm not so sure it would have been a first down in front of Vernon Hargraves. However, if it was 4th and 1 or 2 at the 37,
yes,
I would suspect that Jimbo would have gone for it.
Well, even down there, it's within Aguayo's range.
Fair point.
Fair catch made at the 11. Gators now backed up. Harris bobbled that snap. Taylor makes the most of it, gets out to the 9. 2 exceptional defenses on display. Clock started running.
The game clock, 15 minutes.
Well, the clock operator realized that was the longest first quarter in the history of college football, so he figured we'd get a jump on the second quarter. He's got some leftover turkey and gravy in the fridge. It's a late game. He wants to get going.
2nd and 7. Delay to Taylor. Waiting for him in the hole was DeMarcus Walker.
These guys, it is impressive what they have built at Florida State and the level of play and players that they are attracting. And this idea that Jimbo Fisher, if Les Miles is in fact out at LSU, that Jimbo Fisher would go to LSU where he used to be the offensive coordinator, I think is laughable with what he has built here at Florida State and the trend He said on the phone the other day, next year might be the most talented team he's ever had.
That ought to send shudders through college football. Harris. And just throws it away. Jalen Ramsey was pressuring him. I saw Jimbo on the field before the game. He said, people better watch out. We're starting to get good.
Well, they won a national championship and played for another one last year. Everybody is covered. And Jalen Ramsey, you know, the big name in this game is Vernon Hargraves, the corner from Florida, the first-team All-American last year. I'm not sure Jalen Ramsey, he's going to be a first-round pick, it looks like to me. At corner, he's played some safety. He's tall. He's an explosive athlete. Won the ACC in the long jump last year. It's a spectacular group of people.
Short kick. Ball's loose. Gators have it. Touchdown, Florida. 42 yards. There is a flag down, however.
And you cannot advance a muffed punt, meaning the return man who was interfered with clearly as he was coming to catch the ball. So while
Mark
this
Herndon was the guy who came up with the ball. Now we sort this out. Was there fair catch interference?
Yes, the ball was.
What a break that would be.
And even if there wasn't, it still would just be Florida's ball at the spot of recovery. You cannot recover.
You notice Jim McElwain, he's saying he was pushed into him.
Well, that's what he's hoping, at least.
Game's clock still running.
Catch interference. Number 85 on the kicking team. 15 yards from the spot of the foul. First down.
That's Chris Thompson, the 4-3 wide receiver. They call him for fair catch interference.
Yeah, he tripped.
He tripped, but he was not pushed into it.
It was close. It was close, but it was the trip as he was going down. If he doesn't trip, I don't think that he would have interfered with Bobo Wilson, who's back to return that pump. And I know that that's what McElwain wants, but he clearly was not pushed. But his guy did. He was blocked a little bit, and then he tripped, which is what took his momentum into the return man.
By the way, they can't stop the clock, we're being told. It is, hey, they lied about it. They did stop the clock.
Technically, that was you who just lied.
About 2 minutes and 20 seconds ran off.
I'm telling you, the clock operator has
You're right.
cranberry sauce.
There's pumpkin pie there, too.
There's one piece left.
3 minutes and 56 seconds. The official time will be kept on the field.
So we'll just be guessing.
Well, and this will get interesting. What is hard for quarterbacks and everybody on the field as you get down to the half, the referee has to do a terrific job, and that's Hubert Owens, of communicating time and calling it out so that both teams have a good sense of what's going on, especially as you get towards the end of the half. Now, they will still have, importantly, a play clock, so the quarterbacks will know when they need to snap it.
It's working. Huge break for Florida State. They have the ball at the Gator 21. Florida may have been offside, and Cook will get about 3, but it looks like they'll be able to take the 5. Jared Davis jumped.
You know, you mentioned the MASH unit that is the Florida defense.
Offside defense, number 40. 5-yard penalty. Replay first down.
You can't make mistakes against FSU. Can't give them extra plays.
But you were talking about the defensive line, the injury. Seeing John Bullard in there is a big deal. But the number of guys banged up in this front for Florida, they can hold it together. I'm not sure how good it's going to be next week against Alabama.
Like to get Cook untracked, and there he goes. Appears to have the first down just shy of the 30-yard line. Daniel McMillan made the stop. This guy can shed tacklers or run over them and then run away from them.
And he shines. Dalvin Cook shines in big games. Had 144 yards last year, his true freshman year, against the Gators in a game that Jameis Winston threw 4 interceptions. So when you look at the total yards per game against winning teams, he shows up when the cards are on the table.
And half the time this year, he's been limping through these runs with a bad hamstring or a bad ankle. That ball was sizzling when it got to Bobo Wilson.
Not sure you need to fire it in there quite that hard. Receivers talk about throwing a catchable ball. A lot of times that means take something off of it. But Bobo Wilson a little late getting to his spot, and McGuire just peppers it in there. Whoa. And then Wilson has to come out because of the lost helmet. And even though you're getting close to Aguayo territory,
Cook gets to the 28.
I was going to say that maybe this is a chance to take a shot in the throw game, but you start to feel these coaches and Jimbo Fisher, this is a guy who, when you've got a good defense and it's playing well, let's not get, my quarterback looks a little overhyped right now. I don't need to throw an interception. He knows how good this defense is. That's Randy Sanders, the offense coordinator and quarterback coach. So
Jimbo will play to his strengths.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if it's a throw down the field here and not something underneath to let someone catch and try to run by the sticks.
Blitz coming. McGuire hangs in the pocket and throws incomplete. And then pushing and shoving afterward, Quincy Wilson made a great play on the ball and then shoved the receiver as soon as the ball had hit the ground.
Erman Lane, Quincy Wilson almost slipped. Great recovery. That ball could have been leading just a bit more. And now Roberto Aguayo, as guys are getting a little chippy in the field, at a distance that has been difficult for him this year. A guy who has been great his entire career, has missed 4 over 40 this season.
But he has never missed against the Gators. And he is the most accurate kicker in NCAA history. Right down the pipe. And Florida State takes a 3-0 lead. 2 years ago, the Groza winner. He will be a first-round NFL draft choice.
And give his holder, Kaysen Beatty, who has held for every one of those NCAA all-time kicks. Nice job. That ball was kind of high and inside.
He is fully capable as a kickoff man of knocking everyone out of the end zone. But a lot of times, they situational kick. They try to pin the other team down in a quarter around the 3-yard line, which can lead to mistakes. But this kid has leg talent and just crushes that one out of the.
Beatty, a senior, enjoying a nice season.
Harris had the ball batted down as soon as he threw it. Reggie Northrup, the middle linebacker, stuffed it in his face.
Northrup, guy who's been battling a shoulder injury. Gosh, it seems like everyone we talk about has some type of injury. You can see that big brace on his leg, tore his ACL against Oregon in the semis last year. And this is a very good group. Long arms, they're very good at getting in the passing lane.
2nd and 10. Cronkright makes his first appearance at tailback. He gets the carry. Not much there. Wedges his way out to the 27-yard line. Here's Adnan Virk.
If you're a Gator fan, you are a big Cardinal fan at the moment. I don't think there's any way that the Stanford Cardinal with 2 losses would go over a 1-loss Florida. So you certainly want them hanging the 2nd loss for Notre Dame, who's ending their season today.
Harris gets away from the first man, gets away from the second, and down he goes at the 29-yard line. Derwin James was the guy who missed him first, came back and got him the second time.
James, a guy who's really come into his own, a true freshman. But Treon Harris has some specialness in the pocket, bounces right off of him, and then throws another juke on Josh Sweat. That's 2 true freshmen realizing, oh, wait a minute. These guys at the college level who play quarterback run an awful lot like the running backs they saw in high school last year.
Townsend has to kick it away. Wilson retreats inside his 25. Late fair cut signal. The Seminoles will start from there after a 47-yard kick. 3-0 Seminoles. It has been a struggle against a brilliant Gator defense. 3 out of 9, 30 yards. They haven't gotten Dalvin Cook untracked either, Ed. 5 carries, 6 yards.
That's a little below his 8-yard per carry average.
Yes, it is. McGuire steps up in a pocket and rifles one. It's dropped by Wilson.
McGuire just looks a little off tonight. He has been so much more accurate than this. Everett Golson, of course, was the starter at the beginning of the year. The transfer from Notre Dame showed concussion-like symptoms after Georgia Tech. So McGuire, who had started last year against Clemson when eventual first pick in the draft, Jameis Winston was out, but then took over, played well against Syracuse, started at Clemson in a loss that they played well, and then took over for Golson for good against NC State.
Cook, running room to the 48-yard line. Doesn't need much to get to full speed.
Good power run game. You've got a fullback in there. That's Freddie Stevenson. Good to have Stevenson back for Florida State. Guy who missed a few ball games with a concussion. But this, they do want the run game, and that was a terrific cut block by Stevenson. Legal to go down low as long as you're facing the man up, not coming back towards the ball.
When you can put your guy on the ground, it's a great block. Play fake by McGuire. Steps up in the pocket again and throws the perfect strike. Whitfield. Kermit Whitfield inside the 10. Gain of 45 yards. Nothing wrong with the accuracy on that.
And the touch. Did you notice how he took a little something off of that throw? And Whitfield, who has ludicrous speed. Whitfield is maybe the fastest guy in the country, starting to figure some things out offensively. And McGuire hangs in there, puts a little bit of loft on the ball, and there is no way Antonio Morrison, with that injured knee from last year and banged up with a bad hamstring now, is going to track down Kermit Whitfield.
1st and goal, Seminoles. To the end zone and too high for Whitfield. Nice catch by the officer down there.
I was wondering what the cheer was.
He's telling everybody, you should have seen me in high school.
Nice. Got his hands away from his body.
To serve, protect, and catch.
I wonder how he'd do if Jalen Ramsey was hanging on his hip, or Vernon Hargreaves.
Four-man rush, a lot of time for McGuire to the goal line. They are going to mark it inches shy as McGuire fit that one into Whitfield. He tried to turn toward the goal line, but couldn't quite get there.
Well, McGuire missed him, and that is just a bit short. McGuire missed him early, but then Whitfield runs into the umpire, Ross Pulley. If Pulley's not standing there, that's a walk-in touchdown. But clearly Florida State, finding Kermit Whitfield on those shallow crossing routes, are finding it hard. Florida's finding it hard to cover that. I don't suspect anything but a really short run here for Dalvin Cook. Something very fast and powerful this close to the line of scrimmage.
3rd and goal, inches away. And the Seminoles will use their second timeout.
Second charge timeout. Florida State.
Jimbo says, come on over here, let's talk about it. I want to get this right. 3-0 FSU.
Again, if you're a Florida fan and you can win out, you'd want to be rooting for Michigan State in that one. They're the ones with the one loss. If Iowa comes out undefeated, they would clearly be in the Final Four.
3rd and goal. Cook is the deep man in this formation. Cook did not make it. There may not be anybody harder to run against than this group in this situation.
But I think you're going for it here on 4th down. You're inside the 1-yard line. There was good push initially. It just took a while for Cook to get going. And now this is the down and distance where you fake the Dalvin Cook run and let McGuire maybe throw one off the run action pass.
You know the defense has to sell out.
I like going for it on 4th down if you're Florida State.
Fake. McGuire throws back against his body. Touchdown. Caught by Jeremy Kerr. Backup tight end. What a throw. He had to fit that into a bread box.
Terrific job keeping the play alive, too. Almost sacked. 4th down. You know you got to throw it somewhere, and McGuire continued to buy time. And I think Kerr's still a little surprised that ball got to him. Give him credit for staying locked in because it had to feed through about 3 Florida Gators. And you can see McGuire with that smile. He really fit that in. Good job.
Kerr is also surprised because that's the first time he's caught a ball all year.
That is a bit shocking. Not a bad way to start the season with your catches against the Gators.
You got to hand it to McGuire. He looked like he was going to try to run for it after he kept it alive, and at the last second, a very dangerous pass.
But 4th down, you don't care. If it's 3rd down, you'd have thrown that into the stands, and Kerr makes the first catch count. Look at Tabor. I mean, Tabor is one of the top corners in the country.
Yes.
He's standing right there. And a good call. You got the box packed in. You move the quarterback out of the way. Florida had someone there for McGuire. McGuire made him miss, kept his feet, way to keep it alive. Terrific play.
If we were showing Jimbo a little earlier, you'd have probably seen, oh no. Then great play.
And I like it. You've got 4th and 6 inches. On 3rd and 6 inches, you didn't make it. You had to get you settled for the long field goal from McGuire before. In the red zone, you don't want to come away with 3 there. You need 7.
And how well defended was that? I mean, They sell out on the run because you have to, and then they were able to cover the pass anyway. It's a terrific defensive unit for Jim McElwain. But right now, they've dug themselves a 10-0 hold on offense. What a pass. What a catch. What a piece of good fortune for Florida State.
Man, that's got to sting a bit if you're Florida, though, don't you think?
Oh.
I mean, they're sitting here waiting. They've already wrapped up the SEC East. They're waiting to go play Alabama. Oh, yeah, we've got to play these Seminole guys. With everyone that's been beat up, this has got to be tough.
And an update on Bedlam. Adnan? My question is going to be on the Oklahoma State game, Adnan. How does the committee just ignore the loss to Texas?
I don't think you can ignore the loss to Texas. And again, we're talking about Florida. If they have the one loss and they beat Florida State and Florida, that Texas loss for Oklahoma will stand out even more to the committee.
You would think. Harris under pressure. And floats it too high by about 2 strides. That's Chris Thompson, the young man who has 1 catch coming in. He's getting a lot of reps tonight because DeMarcus Robinson is sitting out. What did Coach McElwain say? He made a choice
not to play tonight. Yeah, Robinson suspended for breaking team rules, so Thompson getting a little more run. And Robinson, not a guy that you'd want to miss in a game like this.
No. Big-time receiver. Harris with time, throws the post. Contact downfield, no flag. That looked like Derwin James got there early and hit Jake McGee, the tight end.
And what you have to do is we have to watch this regular time. They tell officials that in what they call a bang-bang situation where you have to guess whether the ball gets there first or not, don't call it. This one, to me, clearly Derwin James got there well before the ball. This is pass interference every time. That's a big miss if you're a Gator.
That was not bang, bang. That was bang, pause, bang.
Might even been longer than that. But that should have been a hanky for DPI, defensive pass interference. James, the really talented freshman, got away with one there.
So it leaves 3rd and 10. Harris under pressure. Throws it right into the line. And it was batted down by Giorgio Newberry, and the crowd really on the officials right now as they have to send in the punt team.
And Newberry, who had a couple of huge pass breakups against Miami, actually knocked down the very last play when Miami was trying to score to win. So a guy who's used to timing his jump. But Florida State, they snuck one there. That was a pass interference. Florida should have gotten a first down on the penalty.
Harris has missed his last 5 as the Seminoles are starting to dominate. Wilson backpedals to the 25 and goes out of bounds there. DirecTV takes you inside the drive. We'll take a look at that last touchdown.
Well, it helps when you get a running game going. Dalvin Cook finally gets a little pop in his step. Then Sean McGuire starts to work the field to Kermit Whitfield. It looks like Whitfield's a guy that they like the mismatch on. And then on 4th down, what do? You draw up the old, okay, everyone run around and mix up. And then I'm going to throw it back across my body to the guy who hasn't caught one pass all year in Jeremy Kerr. And the first catch of the year is a touchdown on 4th down against the hated Gators.
You get the feeling this is a huge defensive series for the Gators, and John Bullard may realize that and shoots inside to make the tackle.
Bullard, one of the seniors playing his last game here at the Swamp, was a Will Muschamp recruit, of course, but he is just unblocked by right tackle Chad Mavetti. Mavetti, a guy who's had to play some guard and some tackle, but Bullard was one of the multiple questionable players tonight with a knee injury and a shoulder injury, able to come out and be productive.
Pro Football Weekly said he was the #1 run stopper in college football. McGuire, double clutch. That's about the 3rd time he has done that. And completes the pass to Ryan Izzo, the tight end.
Those passes, if they're off by about a foot, they're going to go the other way. The coverage, even when, except for those crossing routes by Whitfield, there have not been very much open for offensive coordinator Randy Sanders and head coach Jimbo Fisher, who also calls the plays.
If you pump to the same receiver you throw it to, all you're doing is drawing the defense to it.
Yeah, let it go in the first one against the Gators. I think that's the scouting report.
3rd down, call it 5. 5-man rush. They don't get there. And McGuire floats it incomplete. That was off the helmet of Marcus May. You'll forgive me in advance for this. That's using your head.
And Marcus May is a guy who, it seems like every game comes up with a play like this. The receiver has a step. May's got to be careful there with the receiver laying out. That is a defenseless opponent. And May very close here. He makes forcible contact with the head. I'm not sure that he launched and targeted there. Terrific play by your deep safety. However, May has to be careful, get his head up. That head-to-head contact could have been called.
Kaysen Beatty to kick to Callaway. Pressure coming. He gets it away. Flag is down. Back to the line of scrimmage. 47-yard kick. Both punters have done a nice job tonight. It was 4th and 5. Indicating against Florida State.
Florida had a big rush on.
Yes, they did.
One guy almost snuck through.
Illegal motion. Offense. Number 8. 5-yard penalty from the previous spot. Replay 4th down.
2 things. Either Jim McElwain thinks they can block a kick or he thinks they can get a big return.
Well, I would think, as you come in, you've got to set for a count before you go. But I would think, and you could see Beatty getting that ball off quickly, I would make Beatty try to get it off quickly and set up a return, because you can't, you can mix it, have a rush on one side, return on the other. Might be in his head a bit, because there was a guy almost running free.
Callaway waiting back at the 30-yard line. Crowd really into it, hoping for the big play for their guys. Lower, shorter kick. Good FSU bounce, though. Actually gets inside the 20-yard line to the 19.
Worked out for Florida State, didn't it?
55-yard kick.
Which would be an incredible feat for Florida State, given the run that they've been on, the players that they lost off of last year's team.
Treon Harris has simply been shut down tonight. 6 out of 13, 27 yards. Taylor had one good run earlier in the ball game, ripped off a 20-yarder, but has been contained ever since.
And if they can get anything going with Taylor, you mentioned the struggles for Treon Harris. And right now, it seems just a little tricky to get the snap. I'm almost wondering, with the switch at center and Trip Thurman having to move over to center, if maybe you might start seeing Harris go under center a little more and take the direct snap, because every snap has seen a little bit off.
Taylor again, they would love to get him on track. Make a couple of first downs, take some time off the clock and rest that defense a little bit. So would the record crowd tonight, 90,916. They beat the previous record by 9 hearty souls who bought tickets for this one.
Do you think the ticket sales department went out and found 9 people?
I think the 9 people came to them.
Yeah. It has been a magical season for Florida. You think of where they were this time last year with lame duck Will Muschamp as their head coach. They gave Florida State a run. It's a team with 5 wins and now going to the SEC championship.
Harris, pressure coming. Overthrows receiver by about 10 yards.
That feels like a lost down there on first down. You're heaving one down the field against this. I know you want to stay balanced and you want to keep the offense guessing, or excuse me, the defense guessing, but now, they talk about being behind the sticks, the first down to make 10 yards for the first down. Well, now 1st and 10, and you decide against this defensive front to drop Harris back. I'm not sure that's the first down you want to be calling.
And Harris really doesn't have a choice. He's got to get rid of the ball.
2.5 seconds, about all you got.
And you're going to get hit right in the jaw anyway. 2nd and 10. This is usually a run after a first down, incomplete. And it is 5 yards for Fred. I knew I was going to say Fred Taylor. Kelvin Taylor.
Of course, his dad was such a wonderful player. 13 rushing touchdowns, about to break his dad's rushing touchdown record, is Kelvin. And a good year, approaching 1,000 yards. Stays healthy through the bowl season, will go over 1,000 yards, and with an offensive line that when Jim McElwain took over as the head coach, they knew they were going to have some struggles up front, and they've been patchwork, that's for sure.
Coach McElwain has certainly overachieved with this group this year. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Big play here for the Gators. Harris under pressure, throws incomplete. If you don't have time, and Josh Sweat made sure he didn't, it's very difficult to be accurate.
Derwin James and Josh Sweat. James just whipped his guy on the, that's 2 true freshmen. You were talking to Jimbo Fisher before the game, and he said, hey, you may want to get us now because we're going to be pretty good. And you're starting to see some of these guys on defense they have, but not much time for Harris.
Harris has missed on his last 7. Townsend to punt. Boy, another beauty. Covered perfectly by the Gators, who have terrific special teams. Another 47-yard kick by Townsend, who's averaging almost 44 on the year. Here's Adnan Virk. Adnan, thank you so much. We have 3 minutes and 18 seconds to go first half here. Florida State will take over at its 17-yard line. McGuire, 90 yards. The biggest play, you can forget the rest, was that touchdown throw back against the grain. McGuire on a half roll and will complete his first down pass to Bobo Wilson out of Miami.
If you're Florida State, this feels like Dalvin Cook time a little bit. Up 10 on the road, your defense playing well. Get a little misdirection, roll out for a nice pickup on first down. But I would think the Miami native Dalvin Cook might be the guy you want to try to burn the rest of this clock away and just get to half.
Jimbo Fisher has always run the pro-style offense. Here comes a blitz. Cook couldn't even get to the hole. Stood straight up by Joey Ivy, who had been out injured, as had so many of his defensive line mates.
Ivy, a guy who had missed a bunch of time with a leg injury. Nice to have him back for the Gators, getting ready for the SEC championship game. And here's a big third down. Not a time with just one timeout that Florida would use a timeout here to save some time. They should have plenty of time if they're able to make the stop. But Dalvin Cook on the edge is always a nice option inside of 5 yards.
3 wide receivers for Sean McGuire. And FSU will burn a timeout with 2:03 to go on the clock. Take a look at tonight's Good Hands play, brought to you by Allstate and Ed, the only touchdown of the night so far.
Terrific play by the quarterback. Keep it alive. 4th down and about 6 inches. They call the rollout. Nobody's open. So you come back to the sure-handed Jeremy Kerr. I'm sure they knew he was sure-handed from practice, right? Even though he'd never caught one in a game this year.
He's over there on the bench saying, look, I've been telling y'all all year long.
I have great hands. I really have tremendous hands. And that was a terrific play.
Let's go down the sideline. Jerry Punch.
Well, you saw the play for Sean McGuire. You know, Jimbo Fisher has a long history of developing great quarterback play here at Florida State. In fact, the last 3 consecutive starters here, Christian Ponder, E.J. Manuel, and Jameis Winston, all selected in the first round of the NFL draft. That has never happened in the 80-year history of the NFL draft. How about that for developing QBs here at Seminoles?
Jerry, that is a remarkable statistic. We was talking about it yesterday in our production meeting. McGuire with time, batted down, incomplete by May. Marcus May, big third down play, got a hand on it, and that will force an FSU punt.
That was open for just half a second. Look at the jump by May. Just completely read it. And we saw him make that terrific play down the field, although it was close to targeting to blow up that long throw. May has been a guy who, you know, Jimbo Fisher, when he was talking about the secondary, just started naming numbers because there are so many guys like that that have such great direction skills and size.
Another cannon shot of a punt. Callaway all the way back to the 15. And can't get back to the 20. A 60-yard punt. It's like these kickers are auditioning for something.
If things were rolling a little bit, you know, with 1:45 and 1 timeout, that's all the time in the world you need to kind of mount a drive. But I'm not sure how much I'm not sure you want to give this ball back to Florida State, even if you have to punt it. I think it's a bad deal for Florida right now.
Yeah, aren't you almost thinking, you know, I can live with 10-0. Taylor underneath.
And
but if you make a mistake with your offense and their lack of ability to put points on the board, if you make a mistake down here and like it's a pick 6, you might be out of the game.
Well, bad news is Kelvin Taylor comes up hobbled.
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah, that's really bad news for Florida. I mean, this is a team that has just, it's mind-blowing that Jim McElwain has been able to scrap together enough wins with what they've had to go through on offense to get to an SEC championship game. And we, you know, talking to Coach McElwain this week, you kind of got the sense that he was worried about the team Oh, left ankle looked like it just got rolled on as he was going down. But you could sense that Jim McElwain had a feeling like, at some point the levee may break. We just don't have enough guys. And against a team like Florida State, not that the levee's breaking. They're hanging in here. They've got the ball back. I'm not sure how much more they're going to do with it. But what a bummer for them.
Taylor's more than half of your offense.
Yeah.
He's the guy you rely on, and if he can't come back in, you have two very talented guys behind him, but they're both true freshmen, Jordan Scarlett and Jordan Cronkrite. And between them, they have 305 yards rushing on the year. They are not exactly Kelvin Taylor. We'll check on the injury when we come back.
Line of scrimmage, 27, 2nd and 3.
So Taylor able to make it to the sideline. Harris gets out of bounds at the 32, picking up a first down with 1:17 on the clock.
If you're Florida, you're hoping you're going to sneak enough yardage to make it worth your while maybe to take some throws down the field. So the first throw to Taylor was just a little dump off. Unfortunately, he gets hurt, and now Harris very smartly takes off and runs and gets out of bounds so that the clock stops and you don't have to use that timeout.
It would be huge for them even if they could get down to try a field goal. Really would.
Although that's not been a gimme for them either.
Well, they got to make it, but it would be huge. Harris over the middle. Another short gain pitching catch to Brandon Powell.
Got to go fast because a throw like that takes a little while to get everyone set back. Don't want to take too much time here.
That one's batted up in the air again. Seminoles are so good at that. Newberry, that's his second. Like he's playing volleyball.
And that's the one that makes the Adam's apple in your throat go up towards you. What? This ball's in the air for entirely too long for the liking of the Gators. With everything we've been talking about, if that becomes a turnover, you're giving Florida State the ball on the 40 with 50 seconds left, 50-plus seconds left.
Taylor able to come back in the ballgame. Great news for the Gators.
And if you don't convert here, what are you going to do on fourth?
They give it to Taylor. Couple of cutbacks. Taken down at the 45-yard line. That's enough to move the sticks.
If I'm Florida, I'm starting to think about turnovers for the Gators. Good to see Taylor coming back. He looked awfully sharp there after what looked like a pretty good tweak of his left ankle.
Harris with time. Now he's flushed. Throws on a run. Taylor makes the catch. Knocked out of bounds right at the sticks. With 33 seconds on the clock.
While Derwin James, the safety, came on a blitz and knocked the right tackle, Mason Halter, who got out of his stance a little late. But Treon Harris, again, you've got to break down. You've got to find him able to throw that away. But James, a guy who has really come on after the injury to Trey Marshall's bicep at safety. They finally found a guy to take that spot.
Harris looking pretty comfortable in this 2-minute drill. Completes it underneath to Powell. He's going to be about 1.5 yards shy of a first down.
Wow, I think they should think about a timeout here. Boy, they burnt. McElwain could not tell. He was looking to see if it was a first down, and he about 2 or 3 seconds he wasted there to get that timeout. Let's see if that comes back to hurt him.
The Gators trying to make the end of the second quarter very exciting. They have moved the ball to midfield with 23 seconds left. Unfortunately for them, they have used all of their timeouts. The only way they can stop it now, incomplete pass, get out of bounds, or make a first down, and that's only temporary.
Got to always be ready to spike it if you have to get that clock stopped. Of course, we know the field goal problems Florida's had, so you're not going to have a timeout to get them out there, so you're hoping that you don't have to rush out to do something you're not very good at to start with.
Taylor.
Now here's where really key seconds matter, and that clock ticked off another second after he was done, but let's see how quickly they start the clock.
Did a good job there saving time. Now throw this one out of bounds. Harris is telling his receiver, no, not that way, this way.
Yeah, and you're looking at 2, maybe 3 plays, but remember those 2, maybe 3 seconds that were lost before the timeout, and also I thought the clock going another second or 2 after that first down pickup. So you left at least 1, maybe 2 plays on the field here.
Need to throw to the sideline or the end zone with only 12 seconds left. And they throw it over the middle. There are no timeouts. And they got a first down, however, by a foot maybe.
Oh, and Callaway is down.
May have landed on the ball.
With DeMarcus Robinson suspended tonight, Antonio Callaway, the brilliant true freshman, runs a nice route. Good throw by Harris. These guys were teammates in high school.
Yep, landed on the ball. That can do damage to your ribs. Can knock the wind out of you, and if it does,
you know, he starts grabbing at that hamstring, though. You know, when he landed on the ball and he popped over.
Yeah, he did grab his right leg. Of course, you can hurt more than one thing.
Yeah. But he bounced up pretty quickly, and then he went to grab that hamstring. And here goes Florida. They're ready to go on the ball because the clock was moving. So as soon as the field is cleared, the clock is going to go. I think you want to you don't have to kill the ball here now. You know, because of that time, you could have run a play. The fear is you're not going to have enough. And now here comes adventure time with Justin Hardy. His career long, a 52-yarder against the Seminoles last year in this game.
This will be from 50. A young man who was 5 out of 11 kicked the ball so badly they had a 216-member open student tryout won by a dental student.
And if you're Florida State, you know everything about blocked field goals because of what happened at Georgia Tech.
Sir.
Remember, this can be a low kick, easier to block.
Officially now 51. Yanked it left. Had the distance, but off target. And the travails of Austin Hardin continue for the Gators. At the half, our score, Florida State 10, Florida nothing. Full half of football to come your way from the Swamp. Kind of like Jim McElwain. He knows his team is limited offensively. He has lived with it all year. It will get better because he's an offensive guy, but he has been living off the defense. Sometimes that can only take you so far. Whitfield is deep. He'll let it go. They'll take over at the 25. Let's go to Jerry Punch. McGuire to throw. Plenty of time. Underneath, knocked away. And it's that safety again. Marcus May.
The one thing that Jeff Collins, the defensive coordinator in his first year here at Florida, has done all year is they leave safeties deep so that these defensive backs can feel very comfortable making aggressive plays on the ball. May usually playing deep, and there's Jeff Collins there with the headset on walking out to the field. Came over from Arkansas, inherited a good group.
Cook. Ooh. Waiting for him, Jared Davis. Few guys on both sides of the ball can really stand you straight up, aren't there?
the level of athletes on the field. Keanu Neal with a terrific job. Kept his shoulders up, kept his balance. And what a year for Jared Davis. Came back from that knee injury. He's been battling from last year.
10 tackles behind the line of scrimmage. 3.5 sacks for that young man and a pick on the year. Third and 7. Blitz coming. And McGuire smartly gets rid of it.
Well, but I don't know if he was out of the pocket or not. Here comes the flag for intentional grounding. Keanu Neal came perfectly timed on a late blitz. And because he came to the side that McGuire was looking, McGuire tried to throw it away but couldn't.
Offense, number 10. Quarterback was not outside of the tackle. Loss of down at the spot of the foul. 4th down.
He has to get over past that SEC logo to be out of the pocket.
Good
Clearly
ball.
not out of the pocket. There was nobody there except the guys on the sideline for Florida State. And the result of the penalty is exactly like McGuire would have been sacked. So 4th down and a big change in field position.
Kaysen Beatty will have to come on to punt. Callaway, the deep man. And this one will be down at the 44-yard line. This time a kick of only 43 yards. Pretty good field position for the Gators. They need to do something on offense, and Treon Harris has been throttled so far. 11 out of 22, only 64 yards.
And let's see the health of Kelvin Taylor, their best running back. He's out there now. Looked like he injured his left ankle near the end of the half. We also saw Antonio Callaway, who is out there now to the left, who looked to have a tight hamstring at one point. So a beat-up Gator gang still nursing some injuries.
Would help them so much if they can establish Taylor and open up the run game. Taylor lowers his shoulder, drives for 7 big yards. Kelvin Taylor, the junior tailback.
Well, just like Jim McElwain was telling Doc Punch coming out of the half, we've got to do better on 1st down. Terrific cut back by Kelvin Taylor. Nice tackle there by LaMarcus Brutus, but Taylor had enough energy going to pick up a big gain, and that looked like he was cutting just fine on that left ankle there.
Is that a good name, LaMarcus Brutus? Taylor again. Swallowed up this time, maybe a half-yard shy of a 1st down.
And this is that, 3rd and short on the plus side of the field on Florida State's territory. This is a place, maybe you fake one to Taylor and see if you can't sneak somebody down the field. The big bodies are coming in.
It hasn't worked very often, let's put it that way, to go for that play call.
And terrific job in his 2nd year, Charles Kelly, the defensive coordinator.
This is a very athletic group. The Gators are trying to move. Taylor will try to get it on the ground and will. 1st down.
The energy in the building kind of turned up a little bit at half. You give the fans here a little bit of credit. Down 10-0. They got into it a little bit, and the energy. Of course, Jim McElwain last week after it took overtime to beat Florida Atlantic said that the energy of his team resembled that of a dead fish. That has not been the case tonight.
No, he's not sending, in his words, he's not sending anybody down the dead fish aisle tonight. Taylor trying to get to the outside. Look at the speed of a guy like DeMarcus Walker, who's 281 pounds, running stride for stride with Taylor to the sideline.
And Walker may be the most improved guy on defense. Does an excellent job working one-on-one with Tyler Jordan, the true freshman who's having to play because Cam Dillard, the center, is out. Trip Thurman moved into center, but Walker, a guy who has always been incredibly good against the run. This year he's added a good edge pass rush for Charles Kelly.
Loss of a yard for Taylor, 2nd and 11. Blitz coming. Harris hangs in the pocket and throws short but complete. Got it to Chris Thompson. Minimal gain, but it sends up a 3rd and doable.
But, you got behind after the lost yardage on 1st down, so Harris fires one in there to Thompson, getting a bit more play with DeMarcus Robinson suspended in today's game. But I think you're in a position where you'd be thinking about it on 4th down if you're Florida at this part of the field. So we have not seen a quarterback draw yet out of Harris tonight. This might be the time.
3rd and a long 5. Callaway goes in the slot. Haven't mentioned him except on kick returns all night.
There's really open coverage to that side.
Blitz coming, and they got there. That is on the quarterback as Javian Elliott, the senior nickelback, comes on the blitz. That is their 3rd sack, but the quarterback has to be aware of the man coming off the backside.
It looked like Callaway was uncovered. There were so many bodies to that side. You had Terrence Smith lined up like he was going to come, and instead the safety Elliott comes, and you're right, that was a misread.
Townsend trying to kill it inside the 5, but the ball kicks forward. Bad break for Florida. 44-yard punt, but only a net of 24. Florida State ball when we come back. Dalvin Cook picks up 4 very tough yards.
It was interesting. We were talking to Jeff Collins about defending Dalvin Cook. He said the biggest mistake that defenders make with a guy like Cook and his ability to break away is when you get him in open space, you break down and you give him a bunch of different ways he can go, and that's when he takes it the distance. What Collins has told his guys, if you get number 4 in space, take your shot, go for 1 tackle, and if you miss him, at least our speed knows where you're missing him and they can get there faster.
Referee is down as he got mixed up in the middle of that play.
And this is
the umpire's a very dangerous position.
And this is one of the reasons the NFL moved the umpire back behind the line of scrimmage. But that's Ross Pulley, who gets a full-on shot by Keanu Neal and was able to get up. This is a very dangerous place for the umpire to be. And unfortunately for him, and it looks like he's okay, a SEC safety decided to try to hit someone, but he was in the way.
3rd and 6. The crowd really in it. McGuire to Cook. Cook somehow shakes off the big hit from Neal, who tried to blow him up instead of wrap him up, and it results in a 1st down for the Seminoles.
Well, this is what I was saying. Jeff Collins has been coaching his guys. When you get Dalvin Cook in the open field, just go for your shot. Try to knock him down. But the pursuit from Florida was just a touch late getting over there. And everyone talks about Cook at just 202 pounds, how much more powerful he is than you think. You saw it there.
What great balance he displayed on that. Hit in the backfield and taken down. Bullard has been in the backfield a couple of times before Cook could get started. Dalvin Cook is averaging 147.5 yards a game. That's 3rd in the country. He has 27 yards tonight on 12 carries. This is a wonderful Florida defense.
John Bullard, another guy who was questionable tonight with a knee injury. He looks 100%. If not, he sure is faking it.
No, whatever percentage he's at, we'll take it. McGuire and another huge hit on Wilson. That was Neal again. These 2 safeties, May and Neal, described by their coaches as just elite players, and they blow people up.
Terrific read. Good. Notice the difference there. The arms went around. The last time we saw him with Dalvin Cook, he was kind of leading with the forearm. So that time a nice changeup by Neal. Good adjustment.
Another big 3rd down. McGuire really stepped into that in a perfect throw to Travis Rudolph. 24 yards.
McGuire is starting to get into a little bit of a rhythm. He was off quite a bit in the 1st half. Of course, his secondary one of the best in the country. Excellent route by Rudolph. Set up Quincy Wilson, the corner, nicely. Ball thrown on time and accurately by McGuire, and a nice drive for Florida State. They had struggled since that touchdown in the first half.
Jimbo Fisher says he wants McGuire not to make up his mind where he's going to go just based on the play that's called. Let it develop, read it, and react to it, because he has the kind of arm where he can wait.
And you know, he had Jimbo Fisher had some interesting things when we were talking about McGuire. He was coming back, thought he was going to be the starter. Then Everett Golson decides to transfer from Notre Dame and beats him out in camp. And he said it was actually the best thing that could happen to McGuire. Since then, he's become more relaxed, more in tune with the offense and letting it come to him. And the players around him have felt his confidence grow.
Cook on the stretch play. Well, that is a feisty group of 11 guys wearing blue.
You can say a lot about what Will Muschamp did not do here at Florida, and I think it boils down to what they didn't do on offense, because what they did on defense was special and continues to be, and I don't think it's going to change much under Jeff Collins.
Yeah, the cupboard wasn't bare on that side of the ball, was it?
And they were well coached.
Absolutely.
Had good work ethic. As Will Muschamp said when he left, we may not have won enough games, but I left some good players in a good locker room, and he sure did.
3rd and 5. Crowd exhorting the Gator defense to stand tall. A little closer, they're in Aguayo territory. Wilson taken out of bounds. This will bring up a 4th down. It would be about 51 yards from here, and here comes Aguayo.
And this has been usually automatic, but on the year, Aguayo now just 4 of 8 outside of 40 yards. So this, a guy who has never missed in his career under 40, but this year has had a little bit of a challenge. And don't forget, had that low kick against Georgia Tech from 56 yards blocked in return for a touchdown.
The most accurate FBS kicker ever. His hit from 45, he'll try from 51. And kissed it off the post. Accuracy is anywhere inside those gold posts. Had plenty of distance, though, didn't it? 13-0. Aguayo puts another one out of the end zone, and we check in with Adnan. Boy, it's the year of the running back, isn't it, Adnan? There's some guys out there who qualify as beasts.
Lincoln Riley, the new offensive coordinator at Oklahoma, obviously paying off dividends. That offense seems to be rolling.
Harris, it's been a mighty struggle. 12 out of 23, 70 yards passing. That's it. 12 out of 24. It's about the 5th pass batted down.
You know, they've had success running a bit on first down. You don't want to just keep calling the run on first down, but they have had almost no success throwing it. So I know it gets a little hard, but you can see the frustration for Jim McElwain as he said to Doc Punch, we've got to get more yardage on first down. Chalk that up as a fail.
I mean, this offense was much more effective as a passing offense when Will Greer was the starter. He was suspended for using PEDs. That pass over the middle, complete for a first down to Valdez Showers. Maybe the best throw of the night for Harris.
Yeah, when Will Greer was suspended back in October for an entire year, this was an offense that started to look like it had some things. Greer had a terrific game against Ole Miss. He was at 65% completion.
Taylor bursts off the right side for 10 at another first down.
There you go. That first down run. Stay ahead of the sticks. Get a nice throw from Treon Harris on third down. And here goes Florida going fast. Feel like they have a little momentum.
Somebody stopped the clock.
Well,
looks like the officials.
The chain crew.
They hadn't moved the chain
yeah,
gang.
the guys in charge of the 10-yard chain that marks out the line to gain.
Crowd doesn't like this.
Well, because Florida had a little something going. And the chain gain is usually provided by the home team, so you'd suspect they'd be up on top of it.
Harris throws underneath. This one is complete. Another strike this time. Completed to Chris Thompson. Caught more balls tonight than he had all year long.
Well,
another bad snap.
And I just feel so bad for Trip Thurman, the senior who has taken over as a center with Cam Dillard out. You have to move. You have to go and block, and the ball gets stuck on the ground. I'm a former center. I've done that before. It seems like it shouldn't happen, but you're going to run block, and sometimes you put a little weight on that hand, and the tip of the ball sticks in there, and that's a bad loss down on a second down for Trip. But give this guy credit. You see the brace on that left shoulder. He almost gave up the sport, decided he wanted to come back, and he's given a yeoman's effort in there.
Absolutely. Puts him in a hole, though. It's 3rd and 7. On a crucial drive. Harris under pressure. He can run for it. Got a good block. First down at the 35. They wanted Harris, when he became the starter, to use his legs as the check down rather than looking for a back in the flat. That time he did.
And what about the snap from the center Thurman? After dragging one in the dirt, on a key 3rd down, he throws a strike. You got to get the next snap after a bad one.
By far the best drive of the night. Harris flush, throws underneath, threw it at Taylor's feet, and he couldn't come up with it.
And this is the part of the game where Harris has had some struggles, is just general accuracy. We saw him in a game against South Carolina where he looked terrific on short throws, not as good on long throws. Last week was the flip, and that one there, you just take a little bit off of it. If you hit Kelvin Taylor, he probably picks up 7 or 8 yards.
Well, that one he rushed. I mean, sometimes you feel the pressure of the rush, even when it isn't there, and all he had to do was float it out to Taylor that time. Second and 10 from the 35. Pressure coming. Harris throws underneath. It's got his tight end Jake McGee. Another short gain. That's 2 catches for McGee, who transferred from Virginia a year ago. Broke a bone in his leg, had to sit out, now playing his graduate senior year.
And great story tonight, senior night for Jake McGee, where you run out with your parents, you get the flowers and all that. It's the 3rd time Jake McGee has run out for senior day. He graduated from Virginia, so he participated in it at UVA. Then last year, didn't know he was going to get an extra year of eligibility, so did it last year, and once again today.
Taylor going to be about a yard shy of a first down. So bring up a huge 4th.
If Taylor can keep the run game going, here you go on 4th down, you've got to go for it because you already know the field goal problems, but you're down 2 scores. Field goal doesn't do much for you here, keeps it at 2 scores. But I think Taylor is your guy here. Harris is off just enough to not rely on that. You've only a little shocked they're going with no back in the backfield on 4th and short. Wouldn't be surprised if it's a Harris run.
Now they'll come back to a tight formation. No blocking back in front of Taylor. He'll get the carry, though. Hit at the line, dives forward. Boy, is this going to be close. Just depends on whether you get the left foot or the right foot mark.
Derek Noddy, the nose guard, lined up over the center. Trip Thurman had terrific penetration, but it was the second effort by Taylor.
Jimbo Fisher arguing the spot.
And you can review, remember, for first down or touchdown, the spot forward momentum is reviewable here. What a great jump by Taylor. Looked like he's off the ground. There's nothing there that would say this should be reviewed and overturned. It was very close, but it didn't look like Kelvin Taylor, any part of his body hit the ground before the ball got to the 25-yard line.
First down at the 25. Harris throws underneath. The tight end, McGee, dragging a tackler with him.
Well, McGee was a guy, he gets teased for his lack of being able to make people miss. Pretty good there in the open field. He was the guy who had the touchdown catch in overtime last week to save the game against Florida Atlantic. Made a couple people miss.
Jim McElwain saying this is it. This is the rhythm I've looked for the entire game. Taylor gets to the outside. Got another first down. Gators getting a little fired up here as the third quarter winds down.
They're able to get to the edge a little bit. No inside run game really available right now. But they've been able to get 21 right off tackle. That's been where they've been able to make the yardage.
Taylor again. Picks up about 2.5 to the 10.
What a great drive for Florida. You're down 2 scores.
Sure is.
It started to feel like all the world that you weren't going to be able to get anything going offensively. Found a little bit of a run game, a couple of accurate throws from Harris, and you're knocking on the door.
Got to pay it off, though. We'll see how they do when we come back for quarter number 4 at the Swamp. Scarlett is the tailback. Harris, draw play. Got to about the 6. They need to reach the 2.5 for a first down. Reggie Northrup wasn't fooled. He made the stop. Another big third down. You're not even thinking field goal here if things go wrong.
No, and you've got your big tight ends. DeAndre Goolsby's in there. Jake McGee is in there. Those are the guys that you would look for in the end zone. I don't think this is a rundown. The big bodies are in for Florida State.
This drive's already gone 70 yards and taken almost 6 minutes off the clock. Taylor back in beside Harris. Harris looks to throw. Under pressure, has to throw it away. I'm not sure he was outside of the tackle box.
Nope, and they got him again.
And that's a huge penalty.
Yeah, because you would have gone for it on 4th down.
Sure.
4th and 3. Harris not able to get out of the pocket. What an excellent job by DeMarcus Walker, though. Treon Harris tried to put a move on him. He saw that Walker was coming free. Walker just went right by the whiff block by Kelvin Taylor. He's not outside the box. So
that's a decision you can't make.
No, and so now you're running out a kicker who has had nothing but troubles.
This means you got to score on 2 more drives. I don't know that you can expect to do that.
Yeah, I almost feel like you should just throw it into the end zone here on 4th, or you can pick up a first. But yeah, this feels like it's a no-winner.
He'll try from 37. He missed from 51 wide left. And it's blocked. On the bottom of the pile, Marquez White for Florida State. And the horror of this season continues. A low kick right into the line of scrimmage.
To throw it away, which effectively gives you the sack. But DeMarcus is a guy who most improved on defense. There you see him on the pass. He moves the inside and shows some power.
It was a stubbed field goal try. And here goes Cook. To midfield, there is a flag back at the 25-yard line. Austin Harden's field goal wasn't going to be good anyway. The hold will bring this back. And if you're the Florida defense, you have to be very deflated right now. You saw your offense drive over 70 yards, get in scoring position, and then come away with nothing.
Alex Eberle trying to block Caleb Brantley, and I'd say that's a hold. Brantley, who did not play last week against Florida Atlantic with a groin and ab strain. Another one of the walking wounded on the defensive front for Florida. Makes a nice play there.
Still plenty of time to go, but that was a huge failure for the Gator offense. Cook again. Nice cut to the outside. Got a block from Wilson. Dalvin Cook got another block and just tripped up as he got past midfield. A saving tackle by Jalen Tabor. If he doesn't clip his ankle, it's 80 yards.
And this is why Jeff Collins said, don't try to set this guy up. You can see the defenders from Florida starting to slow down and break down, and that is when number 4 is as an abrupt cutter and accelerator of the ball. Since I don't want to use the name Barry Sanders.
No.
I think he was on another planet, but this guy has that ability to make people just look foolish.
He has more 20-yard runs than any other Power 5 back in the country. 19 carries of better than 20 yards. And now they'll face 1st and 15.
2 penalties for Florida State on first downs. That was Ryan Izzo jumping off sides. But Cook, a guy who battled a left ankle injury, looks like he might be, Jimbo Fisher said it still comes up and gets him every now and then. Looks like he might be favoring it a bit.
I think he's a little gassed right now.
You think?
I mean, he's taking a beating. McGuire throws on first down, has it complete into Florida territory to Wilson. These receivers, Wilson, Rudolph, and Whitfield, almost identical in terms of their production this year. You might be able to shut down one of them, maybe even 2, but it's pretty tough to find 3 guys who can cover receivers this good. McGuire, double clutch, throws it right into the lineman, Jordan Sherritt. I mean, he was only about 3 feet away, point blank range, and knocked it down.
And luckily, because McGuire looked like he was going to throw that potentially backwards to Dalvin Cook, but Sherritt, a guy who was not even expected to play tonight with a hamstring injury, and all of a sudden Florida State with a big 3rd and long against one of the best secondaries in the country and a really good pass rush. I wouldn't be surprised if this is some type of quick throw or screen for McGuire. Don't need to be too risky if you're Florida State here.
Nice block by Cook on the blitz. McGuire does the smart thing and throw it away.
And are they going to call intentional grounding like they have before? It looked to me like McGuire was out of the pocket there, and he took a big hit as he went down.
He was drilled.
Does he get outside where 55 was set up? Just barely. The other 2 with Harris were clearly in the pocket. And there's the hit on that left side as he goes down. That one was really close to being intentional grounding. Would have been a loss of about 7 yards for Florida State.
I think if you're on the edge, they'll give it to you.
No, I think that was a good no call. The other 2 with Harris, he was clearly inside the tackle box. That one was on the edge. Good no call.
Fair catch made it about the 8-yard line.
Well, if you're wondering about shutouts, Florida State has never shut out Florida in this series. Florida has shut them out 3 times. And the last time the Gators were shut out, 1988 against Auburn. It's been a while.
When you know those Seminole defenders are frothing at the mouth at the possibility of getting a shutout. This is so huge to guys. Did not expect a 35-29 shootout.
No. Not after we saw Stanford put up 6 whole points against Northwestern at the start of the season.
Taylor, nice hole up the middle. Taylor cut down as he got near the 30. Saving tackle by LaMarcus Brutus, who went down for his ankles. A gain of 22.
Yep, and Taylor came off Gippy. Remember, his left ankle was injured at the end of the first half, and I think Brutus may have gotten that left leg again.
Scarlett checks into the ball game.
Let's go back and take a look at that tackle. Brutus does a wonderful job as the stay-at-home safety. A good tackle at the legs, but when he got up, Calvin Taylor, who had hurt his left ankle, looks a little gimpy. And that's about the only thing they've gotten going here is the Calvin Taylor running game.
He's just pounded away, had 22 carries, all the way up to 115 yards. He has earned every inch of that. Scarlett is the tailback on this series. Blitz coming. That ball was tipped. What is that, half a dozen?
Yeah.
Well, and it was the middle linebacker, Reggie Northrup, who was coming off the corner.
They are incredibly good at it.
Well, they use their length as well as anybody.
Charles Kelly has really got settled into the role as a defensive coordinator his second year. I mentioned the last time Florida was shut out was in 1988. This guy was a defensive back at Auburn on the team that shut them out. So if it happens again, he may not even remember that. You got so much going on. It'd be pretty cool to have done it twice to the Gators for Kelly.
3rd and 7, huge play for Florida. 3-man rush. Harris with all day to throw. They dropped 8. Now he throws over the middle, incomplete. Looked like some contact over the middle, but no flag. And an incomplete pass. It'll be 4th down for Florida.
The one thing that, because of how good they are up front and athletic, that Charles Kelly has been able to do, he's been able to play 6 and sometimes 7 defensive backs. And I think that was a time where they had 7 defensive backs. 5 is nickel, 6 defensive backs is dime. I think 7 you just call dollar. Nickel, dime, dollar, what do you think?
Quarter.
Quarter?
Yeah.
I was going for the alliteration. Dime and dollar.
A 50-yard punt by Johnny Townsend, who's done a great job at trying to turn the field over for his Gators.
Were originally the Cleveland Browns.
Dalvin Cook knocked out of bounds to the 25-yard line. Cook cuts it back, and those blue shirts are right there again. Boy, has Keanu Neal had an active night. I mean, he is coming downhill on every play.
Remember, we had South Carolina a couple weeks ago. Neal was questionable with a foot injury. One of the many Gators on defense who've been in and out of the training room. And now Jeff Collins, you've got to start wondering. He's calling for his dime defense. That's to bring in the extra defensive back. So Tabor comes out. But got to start thinking about crowding the line of scrimmage if you're Florida.
McGuire to throw, pressure coming. Ball's out. Is it going to be a fumble or an incomplete pass? Still loose. Florida State has it in the end zone. Now the question will be, did he throw it or did he fumble it? If he fumbled it, it's a safety.
C.C. Jefferson, one of the true freshmen who was a super high recruit for Florida, came in, great work ethic, just went right by the right tackle, Mavetti. And the question is, was the ball out of his hand before he went to throw it? Sure looked like it. It's the open palm. If that hand comes forward for McGuire and the officials see that the palm is free, which it is, that's a fumble. Terrific move by the freshman Jefferson. Then the ball just goes flying around everywhere. Mavetti, the guy who got beat, has a chance at it here. He can't get it. He tries to throw it out of bounds, which would have been illegal, and then McGuire comes in and heads up. Instead of giving up 7 points, if Florida recover it, it's only 2, but now Florida State has to kick the ball to Florida.
I don't think there's any question that his hand was empty, that was a fumble.
Yep. When I went and worked with the Big 12 officials years ago and actually went through their full training, and that was one of the things they talk about is if you look and you see the palm of the quarterback as the hand is coming forward, it's a fumble, and that clearly happened this time. As his hand comes forward, look, there is no ball in it, just a palm, and C.C. Jefferson comes up with a huge play. Just went right around, brought 2 guys to that side, Joey Ivy and Jefferson.
The ruling on the field is confirmed. It is a safety.
C.C. Jefferson was one of the top high school defensive ends coming out, recruited by the Gators. He is a true freshman.
McGuire does a really nice job. If he doesn't recover that and hustle, and that's hard for a quarterback. You just got sacked, you fumbled, you're getting beat around to stay alive and go recover that instead of a touchdown. Now you're still up 2 scores. You're still up 11. So you were down 2 scores before that. You're still down 2 scores, luckily. But what a play by C.C. Jefferson. They've talked nothing about this young man. You know, a lot of guys that are super high-level recruits like this guy was, they come in kind of expecting things. Not this guy. They said he came in, went to work, has been a terrific teammate, made just a terrific play, and changed the complexion of this game pretty quickly.
Of course, think ahead. You're down 2 scores. One of them could be a field goal. But what has been looming over this team all year long, and what has loomed over them tonight, a missed field goal and a blocked field goal. So you still may need 2 touchdowns.
I mean, as bad as it's been in the kicking game last week against Florida Atlantic, they had 2 missed field goals, and then in overtime, they scored on the first possession, but missed the PAT. Yeah. So if Florida Atlantic would have scored and kicked the PAT, it would have been a disastrous loss. So these are things that Jim McElwain is getting used to.
The kicking game has been just dreadful. We might see the dentist after all tonight.
Well, the Dental Association would remind you he's a pre-dental student. He is not an actual dentist.
If he makes the winning field goal, we'll let him practice.
That's Neil McInnes, the guy who came from a open campus tryout, kickoff tryout.
Brandon Powell, they need a big return. Powell's in front. He's the blocker, and there's a flag down on this play. Valdez showers on the return. Powell in front of him. Now we'll check the flag.
Flag looks like, well, for a moment I thought maybe they picked it up, but no, not so.
Illegal block in the back on the receiving team. Number 5.
That's a killer.
10-yard penalty on the spot of the foul. First down.
Ahmad Fullwood, the senior wide receiver, working on some special teams. Excuse me, the junior wide receiver working on some special teams. The whole key to a block in the back is how does the defender fall after you hit him? And let's see what Ahmad Fullwood. Yeah, he's pushing him in the back.
And he's behind the play. It didn't even matter.
Yeah. Bummer for Florida. What an incredible change of momentum that would have been.
Oh.
They'd had the ball on the Florida State 35, and instead they're now on their own 14. What a huge, huge mistake.
The 3rd flag against the Gator special teams tonight. Empty backfield for Treon Harris. Plenty of time. Ball tipped off the hands of Brandon Powell. Hangs in the air with all that speed in the secondary. He's just waiting on somebody to run under it.
I want to go back to Sean McGuire recovering his own fumble in the end zone and how big a play that was. You get credited with the fumble as the statistic, and then you get credited with your own fumble recovery. Otherwise, it would have been a touchdown for the Gators.
Second and 10 for Florida. Cronkright is the running back. No sign of Kelvin Taylor. Bad snap. Did they get the timeout? Or was it a delay before the snap?
Before the snap, first charge, timeout, Florida.
And they can ill afford to waste those in a situation like that. 2nd and 10 when we come back. 8:41 left. 2nd and 10. Good news for the Gators. Taylor back in. Fighting a bum ankle. Pressure coming. They're all over him, and then they throw incomplete to Powell. I thought they were, the way the action went, I thought they were trying to set up a screen, but there was no screen out there. The Seminoles were just all over everybody.
Harris, and I've seen this before on tape, he'll start to see the rush instead of feel it. That time, there's just pressure all around him, and Harris was pretty jumpy on that. You can't blame him with guys like DeMarcus Walker chasing you around. It's been a pretty rough day.
3rd and 10. They've had one good drive tonight. It ended with nothing. Pressure coming. He's in trouble, and they got him. Back at the 8-yard line. The 5th Florida State sack. Derwin James, the safety, led the charge.
Derwin James is a guy at 6'3", almost 215 pounds at safety. He just takes the running back, Kelvin Taylor, and just jacks him, takes him right to the quarterback. He knew he couldn't run by him, but he still has the ability to come back, and Charles Kelly has himself a star in the making in that young man.
I was just going to say, as the defensive coordinator, Charles Kelly says, look, it's 3rd and 10. I'm going to make you throw it short. There's no way I'm going to let you sit back there and let routes develop in the secondary. You're going to have to unload in a hurry, and he couldn't even do that. 44-yard kick, Seminole ball when we come back.
I don't know how many homes they're up to that they just hand the keys over fully furnished to these families and give them a chance in a nice neighborhood.
It's not just a house. It's everything that goes with the house.
The work done really exemplifies what it means to do things off the field as well as you do them on the field.
Florida comes on the blitz, and McGuire throws to Wilson. Bobo Wilson down to the 37-yard line. His 5th catch of the night, and a nice throw by McGuire. As Florida, a nice play call as well. Florida was selling out on the run.
And McGuire, who we were tracking him, and Brantley now down on the field. Caleb Brantley came up a little gimpy after that. I had mentioned that Brantley did not play last week, and now grabbing that left calf, looking like he may be cramping, but he didn't play last week. Even if they lose today, going to next week to play Alabama. And this is a defensive front. We have not seen Alex McAllister tonight, who had that foot injury. He's their best edge rusher for Florida. So to have that guy out, Caleb Brantley. We've seen John Bullard play well tonight, although he's been banged up. But they're getting down the depth chart. Kerry Clark now in, getting some reps. Freshman nose guard.
Now the clock is Florida State's friend, Dalvin Cook, weaving his way behind blocks. What a terrific run that was. Had his right guard, Wilson Bell, out in front. Went right, left, got every ounce out of this that he could.
Watch how much yardage he gains after the cut. And then realizes I'm right at the sticks, picks up the first down. Florida State should be taking their own sweet time right now. Be surprised if they snap this. Probably around under 5 seconds. You can see McGuire looking at the play clock.
Cook, big hole, Dalvin Cook. Holding onto the football as the Gators try for the strip. He's got another first down inside the 15-yard line.
Well, the Gators defense stood up tonight. You cannot put this on the Gators defense.
No.
They made a play when they needed it to get the safety, trying to get their team back into it.
You're right, Ed. They were great.
They just didn't have enough offense to help them out. This is clearly a championship defense Florida has. They don't have all the pieces on offense yet. It's been a brilliant coaching job to play to the strengths of this group. But they're starting to wear out just a little bit. You can't blame them.
Cook again, another big hole straight up the middle. Cook, touchdown. Ball came out, but after the touchdown signal for Dalvin Cook. Both he and Taylor just kept pounding away until the yards started to pile up.
Mentioned at the top of the show that Dalvin Cook was originally, he clearly did get across the goal line before the ball was knocked out, but Dalvin Cook was a commit to Will Muschamp and the Gators. He was verbally committed here for 8 months, and back in 2013 it was a 4-win season. He decided he wanted to go become a Seminole. And I'm not so sure if Will Muschamp's still not the coach here if he hadn't gotten Dalvin Cook. They may have been much better last year, even with this guy as a true freshman.
Cook, 19 carries, 108 yards, and the touchdown run that may have put this one on ice. Gators still have a lot to play for. They are going for the SEC title next week against Alabama. But as far as the playoffs with this loss, even if they beat Alabama, they're too far back to make it, aren't they?
No, if Notre Dame wins and holds on against Stanford and the winner of Iowa, Michigan State, I don't know how much of a game Florida's going to be able to give Alabama, frankly, next week. I think defensively, yes, they may be able to hang. I don't think Alabama's great on offense this year, but they sure are great. The defensive front for Alabama is as good as I've seen in a long time.
Checking in with Jerry Punch. Doc, what do you have?
Hey, guys, how about a little bet you didn't know on Florida State head coach Jimbo Fisher? Folks, he's a 5'8" quarterback who could bench press 400 pounds. He spent one semester as a scholarship shortstop on the Clemson baseball team. Gave that scholarship up to go back and play an NCAA National Player of the Year in Division III. He was so good academically, almost went to med school, studied Latin, and took 4 years of piano. Yes, he can read music as well as defense.
That's pretty good, Jerry. I didn't know about the piano.
In his time with the Bowdens, he played for Terry Bowden, did Jimbo, then became the head coach in waiting under Bobby Bowden in what looked like a uncomfortable transition.
Yes.
Sure has worked out nicely for the Seminoles.
Such a brilliant offensive mind and an exceptional recruiter.
You know, and a big deal here for Florida State is winning the mythical state championship between Florida State, Miami, and Florida. And this would wrap it up for Florida State. And that's a big deal in recruiting, because when you go into a guy's living room and he's choosing between you and Florida or you and Miami and your Florida State, you could always say, well, we beat those teams. Jimbo Fisher, with this win today, will be 11-1 against the combination of Miami and Florida while he's been here at Florida State.
That's remarkable. Taylor breaks it straight up the middle. With this win, also Jimbo Fisher will be 68-13. He is approaching 84%. That's second only to Urban Meyer in the entire country, and they're like a game apart. Quickly out in the flat to Chris Thompson, trying to use that 4-3 speed. Got a good block from Brandon Powell. And the Seminoles playing something of a prevent type of defense right now.
You know, you think of the job that Jimbo Fisher has done this year and his offensive staff. We've shown offensive coordinator Randy Sanders, the quarterback coach there, a lot. This is an offense that lost 4 senior offensive linemen. The #1 pick in the draft in quarterback Jamin Winston. Rashad Green, maybe the best receiver in Florida State history. That's a stretch, but he was awfully good.
Harris with the deep ball intended for Powell. This is going to be interference. The call will go against Javian Elliott.
They also lost Nick O'Leary, who won the Mackey Award as the best tight end in the country.
Terrific player.
Pass interference, defense, number 14, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Yep. Close to uncatchable, But that was an awful lot of contact by Javian Elliott.
Yes. Too much.
Yeah.
That puts them at the 10. To the end zone and just overthrown. Callaway was open. He had beaten Derwin Jones, and Harris missed him by a stride.
Excellent move by Callaway. Whoa, that's just, you can't miss that throw. You got to drop that one in. Take a little off it, put a little air under it. But for Callaway, you can't run a better route. That's pretty good guy. It's two true freshmen. That's Derwin James and Callaway. They're going to be playing against each other a lot. But
yes, they are.
Callaway won that one.
Callaway, one of those long striders, has a brilliant future. Taylor on the draw can't get past the 10. Here's the stunner coming your way. Adnan Virk, what's up? Boy, what a way to win a game, but what a way to lose a game. Holy cow.
Well, that just cleared things up quite a bit.
Yes, it did. For the end zone, tipped and incomplete. Intended for Callaway.
And they went back to the exact same route Callaway ran before.
And Elliott was right on him that time. Well, you're right about clearing things up.
Yeah.
Notre Dame was the wild card in that five-team scenario, weren't they?
Now you've got to think if Alabama wins, they're in. You've got to think the winner between Iowa and Michigan State is in. And, of course, Clemson, if they beat North Carolina, who looked awfully good today.
Yeah,
against a solid.
That is not a walkover.
Yeah,
North Carolina's gotten better all year long.
But if those teams win out, that's clearly going to be your Final Four.
4th and goal. Last gasp for the Gators. Blitz coming. Harris rolls away from pressure. The defense has just been magnificent. Derwin Jones chased him down from behind. Harris did everything he could to keep it alive, but was just overwhelmed by the numbers.
And you just got to throw that into the end zone. You know, we saw McGuire earlier on a 4th down running around, and he saved everything he could to throw it in the end zone. And here Harris felt like he may have had a step. He had 3 receivers in the end zone. You just got to put it up there and let them try to make a play. You know, we've seen McGuire working on that right arm a little bit with one of the trainers over there. It looked like he may have gone down a little funky. He looks fine. He had a throw on the last series, but just something to keep a watch on.
You know, they don't have a wrap on it. And at this stage, if he was hurting, they'd have Golson in there, so.
Isn't it amazing that Steve Spurrier's last signature win may have been knocking off North Carolina at the beginning of the season? That was the only real big win that South Carolina had this year before.
Well, talk more about the Heels. Remember, you mentioned that Ohio State was way down with 2 weeks to go, popped into the top 4, win the national championship. Could North Carolina make that kind of leap? If you beat number 1, the consensus number 1, does that get you up high enough?
Well, the loss that they're going to look at when they're comparing them to Oklahoma is Oklahoma lost to Texas, and that's a really tough one to overcome. The answer is yes, I think they could.
Cook.
What a terrific. That's a video game move there. Where you know you're up.
It is.
You're in the open field. There's no reason to continue to run.
No, the only thing that gives them a chance is if you score. As bizarre as that sounds. So run as far as you can and then lay down. He has just had a magnificent night. 20 runs of 20 yards or more. I mean, that is, think about it. And he sat out one game, sat out most of another game. He's been limping around all year on a hamstring and a bad ankle. Another huge hole to midfield.
Face mask on Florida added a little salt to the wound as their defense with all of the injuries, all of the guys that have banged up front, this has been a pretty good effort against an elite running back.
Tell you what, everybody out there played their hearts out tonight. And look at Cook. He is just a monster.
That time it was Jeremy Powell, the linebacker, just getting back into shape with a foot injury, who gets made to look a little silly. And Jimbo Fisher has, coming into this year, I remember I was in studio last year and we were talking about Florida State and all the things they lost, and I looked at their schedule, and of course Jimbo had a change in his personal life, which is always a tough thing to go through. And just we talked about all the things off the field that Jimbo Fisher has had to deal with to get the focus back, and you know, the way that this team plays and the athletes that they have brought in is just, it's kind of mind-blowing.
He has developed an assembly line in this program.
Yep.
He just replaces great players with more great players. The Florida State senior class sets a record tonight. 49 wins as a group, the most in Florida State history. And when you say, anytime you say the most in Florida State history, you're talking about some magnificent records to be eclipsed.
Yeah, the greatest run in the history of the game was that 80s into the 90s run by Bobby Bowden and that team, and they were always in the top 5. And so to have a class that, now, of course, the modern era, they're playing 14, 15 games instead of 11, 12, and 13, so you have more opportunities, but it's a pretty impressive feat. And this is a team that you were talking about. You talked to Jimbo Fisher earlier. It's just, he's got a big smile on his face. Recruiting's going great. They've got a bunch of young defensive studs.
This will be his 10th win. They have a chance to go to one of 4 straight 10-win seasons, and 5 out of 6. Just remarkable.
And now for Jim McElwain, the big trick is going to be, A, how many guys on defense can I get healthy? You know, Bullard looks like he's going to be fine next week, but what is he going to be able to roll out on the defensive side? If they're going to knock off Alabama, I have a feeling it's going to take some defensive points, maybe some Callaway on a punt return. I just don't think they're going to generate even close to enough offense to knock off the Crimson Tide.
But that defense ought to give Alabama's offense all it can handle and then some. And I mean, this is an elite unit.
Well, the only reason that Florida is not being shut out tonight is because of their defense.
That's right.
They scored the only
points
safety of the night to hold them from their first shutout since 1988.
Sports Center coming up when we're done here. Now we're under a minute. And I can't say enough, not only we talked about Jimbo Fisher, but Jim McElwain. You put it properly, saying he held it together with spit and baling wire. And he has, because the offense is not going to keep you in games. The defense has to play lights out, and then they've got to get a break here and there, get a big run from Taylor or a run from Harris or a big pass from Harris. They've been few and far between, and he's just, he won the SEC East.
It's almost like he set the bar too high in his first season.
It is.
Because this team has no business winning the SEC East. And you say, you know, it's easy to sit here and say they're not going to win. They're still going to go play that game. And they've had some really nice games on offense this year. Maybe they can turn it on a bit against Alabama.
I mean, who knows, with a fumble recovery or a pick six, you can win on defense.
You know, I start to wonder if these great in-state rivalries that are not in conference, like Florida State, Florida, if they're not going to start talking about playing these at the beginning of the season.
Oh,
I would much rather. Well, if I were a coach with college football playoffs, if you're Jim McElwain, would you rather be playing Florida State this week or Charleston Southern before you go play in the SEC championship game? I mean, that's tough duty.
Yeah, but I don't want to play him at the first of the year and get whacked and then have to fight back the entire season.
It's easier to get whacked early than get whacked late.
I guess. Cook, nice misdirection. Dalvin Cook, see ya.
I know if you're tuning in, it looks like this is easy pickings, but this Florida defense down at least 4 front 7 guys tonight. They've given it their all, and that was nice. Dalvin Cook just went by a couple guys, gave him a pat on the helmet. It took a while for number 4 to get going, and when he does, it's pretty dangerous. And Jimbo Fisher just got a Gatorade bath.
26 carries, 183 yards. He eclipses his average. Florida, when we talked to them earlier, gave us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 players on the defensive line. That's all of them. That's what they got. They got 17 guys.
Well, and Jimbo Fisher won't need to take a shower. I think that's the water one. Yeah, so it actually is not sticky. It's a little cold.
Good thing it's a nice warm night in Gainesville.
Ah, look at that.
Yes,
you go for the defensive coordinator. You know, and Jeremy Pruitt left 2 years ago to go to Georgia, and everyone thought the defense, didn't play quite as well last year. And so Charles Kelly is taking some heat on the message boards and such, but Kelly has done just a terrific job with this defense. And here's a guy, you mentioned he missed almost 2 full games, plus he was gimpy another 3 or 4.
Yeah.
I mean, how many yards does he have? And he's got to be in the conversation with the Heisman if he's healthy the whole year.
If they're undefeated, he's the #1 guy on the Heisman Trophy list, in my opinion.
I think if he was healthy, he may be, because I think he'd be up around 2,000, 2,100 yards if he were healthy the whole season.
Might have a tough time getting out on the airplane,
That is the trophy for the Sunshine Showdown.
Better hope the guy at TSA is a football fan. Otherwise, you may have to mail that one home. Now, this was a record crowd that saw a brilliant defensive effort by their Gators, but that guy helped torpedo him at the end. He is just an exceptional running back.
Well, we're talking about the job that Jimbo Fisher has done. How about being the first coach ever at Florida State to beat the Gators 3 straight times in Gainesville?
He set a lot of records. Going to set a lot more, too.
The only good news for the ACC next year is Deshaun Watson comes back to Clemson. So at least we're going to have ourselves a really great game again.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, I think Florida State may run away with it.
Cronkite underneath. And that should do it. Valiant effort by the Gators, but not enough on offense, as Florida State just had an exceptional night on both sides of the ball. Once again, our final score, Florida State 27, Florida 2. Coming up next, Sports Center for Ed Cunningham, Dr. Jerry Punch, our entire crew. This is Mike Patrick saying so long from Gainesville. Thanks for watching.